All right, cool. All right, so here we are, guys. It is getting ready to be 2026, right? Thanks for coming in right before the holidays. You guys got your brains working, right? We're ready to get some action going on today. What's up, man? How you doing? You get to sit in the back. You can sit wherever, man. You can sit wherever. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, and you just love this class so much, you decided to come back for more.
I decided to share the love and tell the people.
I love it, man. I love it. Bring some energy and do you, dude. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for coming back. So this is the 2026 Business Planning Clinic. For those of you who don't know me, which is about, I'd say probably half of you in here, we haven't really met or talked or anything like that. My name is Jeff Bonham. I'm part of EXP Realty. I've been with EXP since 2018. I'm a national coach, speaker, all those things along with it. My wife and I have a sales team down in the Springfield area. Okay, so if you know anybody that's moving to Springfield, feel free to give us a call. We'd be happy to help out. Send out a referral down there. But what we're really going to talk about today is one thing that over these last few years, we really have been passionate about paying it back, right? About giving forward to the agents that we work with that are in our lives and making sure that they get to have some of the blessings and experiences that this career has done for us. I've been in it since 1996, so I'm an old dog. This May is my 30th anniversary being in this business. So we've seen, I know, right? Wow. So we've seen a lot of cycles, ups and downs, goods, bads, right? High interest rates like 15%, low interest rates of 3%. We've seen it all over. The crash of 2008. And the beauty of all those things is no matter what it is, I want you guys to understand this. The market's the market, man. It's not good, it's not bad. It's just understanding it. And it's you adjusting and shifting to whatever that market is, learning how to operate within it, and not just being reliant on market conditions to be successful, okay? Some people have been successful just because it's been a good market. I don't want that for any of you. I want you to learn how to build this business, how to run it like a business, and that's what today's about. So as we go through this stuff today, I want you to do this first and foremost, is I want you to look at the possibilities instead of the problems, okay? A lot of people, what do you think most people lean on in this world when they're sitting there thinking about their day or what's going on in the world? Do they think big and big possibilities, or do you think most people are focused on the problems and challenges in front of them?
If there are realtors, they're thinking of the possibilities.
If there are realtors, they're thinking about possibilities, right? But the reality is most people get hung up on the why nots, right? Or why this isn't good, why this can't work, why? And they're not thinking about the possibilities. I want you to think and open up your mindset. I want you to think big today, because what we're going to talk about today are really big models. We're talking about 7 figures a year, okay? Now, if you're brand new, cool. We step back to where you are today, and we're going to talk about what year one might look like for you. But if you're seasoned and you're starting to think about scaling, building a team, going big, we go all that way too. Our background was that. We had ran a team that did about 1.4 million in GCI, so we've been on that side too. So we can literally talk with you about all the experiences in between. We've moved to different markets. We've started over. Like, we've been in your shoes, right? We get it. So please engage, ask questions, do whatever. This is really conversational to get the most out of today. We're going to move fast because it's about a 6-hour class that we're doing in about 2.5, 3 hours. Okay, so hang with me. So in order to do that, we are going to take a couple of breaks. We're also going to have lunch brought in. When we call to come back, try to come back as quick as you can. How are you doing?
Hi.
And how are you again? Good seeing you again. But come back quick, silence your phones or put them on vibrate. If you need to take a call, step out and take a call. We're all doing business, right? It doesn't bother me one bit. But let's respect each other with our conversations and everything along that line. Our goals today is to identify what your big why is. Why is this not sharing anymore? Let me get back to that. You're like, what are you talking about, dude?
That's working.
Let's get that going. Got tired of me, I guess. But we're going to talk about your big why. What pushes you to succeed? Why do you even want to succeed? And then we're going to talk about breaking that down into, probably today all we'll get through is your someday goals. But if we do that, you'll be able to stair step back to your today goals, okay? Because you will have gone through the exercises. And then we'll also talk about the different models of what it takes to get to that, such as what's the lead generation model need to look like to perform in your business for your goals? What's your budget need to look like? What's your finances? If you need a team, what does that need to look like? So we're going to kind of go big picture, like I said, but you can stair step back to today, because what I hope we can do with this today is that you guys will see that this really can operate fully as a business, okay? It can be a standalone business. It can be something that you literally walk away from and it performs every day without you being there. All right? Any slideshow. All right, so we kind of hit that stuff. And I want you to commit to growth, right? Get this possibility mindset and also about accountability. We don't have time for the icebreaker, but you guys are all awesome, right? We all agree to that? Everybody's cool in here? All right, awesome. So this is some things we run into, limiting beliefs. Number one, I've heard people a lot of years through coaching just believe they're not good enough, okay? The reality is it comes from past experiences, right? It comes to this belief system we have. But the reality is what's going to happen, the skill, all of that shows up through the action. The skills and everything show up. You may not feel like you got it today. Like I can't go to 7 figures. I can't go to $500,000. I can't go to, some of you may have that. I hope you don't in this room. I doubt it. I feel a lot of you feel like I'm feeling a really good positive, kind of energy from. But don't buy into mindsets of the past, right? I want you to be open up because it's through taking the action where you're going to develop the skills. You're going to learn how to do all this stuff, right? Some people also believe success is for a few determined few that come from wealth or education or connections. Honestly, don't buy into that stuff, right? Also, other people talk about they just don't want to fail. They have a fear of failure built into them. I've seen the opposite. I've seen people being afraid of success because they've never had it and they don't know how to handle it, and they're worried that they'll lose the comfort they're used to, the relationships or whatever it may be that they're used to. And then finally, some people think they don't have enough time or resources. I see that most often with people that are getting started. Maybe they're dual career. Maybe they're under the impression that you have to have money to make money, or they just don't have the time, right? The reality is if you're dual career and you're trying to switch into this full time, you're going to be out of balance for a little while. But that's why we're going to talk a lot about mindset today. We're going to talk about having a big why for doing what you do, because I think anybody can do anything for 6 months to a year. If you want it, you can do it. And what you'll find is in that 6 months to a year committed to the actions and just being out of balance and understanding it, you'll have to make a choice within that time. You'll have to say, my pipeline's busy, like I gotta go. I gotta do this. If this is where I'm going, I need to go all in, right? So I want you to understand that's I started out that way and I had to make a decision about 8 months into it. Some people believe they don't simply deserve success. Something's happened along the way and they've been convinced that they don't deserve to be the successful person. So the question I have for you guys is when and why did we buy into this BS? When did we ever, as a society, buy into this BS? This is the thing I always ask a crowd is what do we tell our children they can be when they grow up? What do we tell our kids? You can be anything, right? The old phrase is you can be president. I don't know if anybody says that anymore. I don't know if anybody wishes to be president nowadays. But it's like you can be president, So why when we get to this point in our lives do we maybe not still believe that we can be anything we want to be, right? The reality is a lot of times it happens because we've gotten told either by a teacher, a relationship person, a boss, something along that line in our teens or early 20s, whatever, that we are not meant to be something great. And we start to believe it if we hear it more than once. The reality is I want all of you to know in this room, if you start taking the right actions, literally in less than 5 years, you're a completely different person than you are today. You can completely reinvent who you are, where you are, your opportunities, your experiences, and redefine it. But it starts with making that decision in here today. It starts with figuring out today what you really do want. So you'll notice in the beginning of this, I spend a lot of energy on mindset because most people that I find that are not successful, honestly, they're getting in their own way. It's not a lack of opportunity. We all wake up in this business. This business, one thing I love about it is it's a business of equal opportunity but unequal reward, okay? Equal opportunity, but unequal reward. So what does that mean? It means those that go for it are gonna get it. Those that are willing to push and take action are gonna get it. It's simple. It's not prejudging any of us, right? So we often get in our way with our mindset, our beliefs, our actions, talking ourselves out of things, outsmarting ourselves sometimes, and not just being willing to do what it takes to get there. So the question is what do you want to be when you grow up, right? What does that look like? What do you want to be when you grow up? You can be anything. Here's the name of our coaching company is The Lifestyle Agent. And the reason being is we're going to talk about 7-figure business models today, but it's not because I think you all need to go make 7 figures. What I do want you to do, though, is I want you to think about and start to design what life you really want to live, whatever that looks like. and understand real estate can be the vehicle that funds and builds that life, okay? So understand 100%. That's what we want to talk about. The secret I've discovered, it's very simple, of every single successful person I've ever met is this. They've got massive clarity. Massive clarity, right? So this is my own little equation there, but it's massive results equals massive clarity times massive action. Massive results equals massive clarity times massive action. You could say even, you could take away the M and you could just say results equals clarity times action, right? But the reality is if you want to go big, you've got to have both. If you have massive clarity but you're not taking action, you're not going to get results. If you take a bunch of action but you're not clear on what you're doing or why you're doing it, it's going to fumble, right? It's going to be kind of spread out and you're not going to take advantage of that momentum and action to get to the pinnacle of success. So you've got to have absolute massive clarity about what you want, why you want it, and how you're going to get there. It only comes, I've discovered massive clarity only comes when you connect to your vision in 3 ways, okay? The first one is this. You've got to understand, why do you even want it? Why do you want it? I used to have a buyer's agent. His name's, I'll not give his name. How about that? I'm not going to give his name. But I had a buyer's agent, great buyer's agent. He's with me for 3 or 4 years. But every year he told me he wanted to make 100 grand, 100 grand. I want to make 100 grand, right? And about his 3rd year in a row of hitting 75, 70, 80 every single year, we were on a drive. And I said, hey, buddy, why do you keep falling short of your 100 grand? You keep saying every year you want 100 grand, but you keep falling short. And as he really sat there and pondered it and reflected, he said, honestly, I said 100 grand because I thought it's a number you'd like me to say. I'm like, wow, that's kind of eye-opening. I didn't lead him properly and let him know it's not about my numbers, it's about your family, right? What do you need or what do you want? And then so we dove deeper, and I said, okay, so why 75? And he said, well, really, he said, I didn't consciously realize this, but when he's making 5 to 7 grand a month, it gives his family what they needed. Because his wife worked some, but it allowed her to work 3 days instead of 5. They had 4 kids, allowed him to have some time with them and do vacation, allowed him to pay all their bills and not be stressed. He didn't have a lot of overhead, right? So he got to that point, and he didn't personally have a reason to push through that ever. He hit comfort at that level. So we got clear and said, okay, buddy, that's fine. If that's your goal, and if I need 100 or 150 from my buy-side team, that's cool. I just need to know that. I'll just go get another buyer's agent. It's not against you. I'm not doing a takeaway. Does that make sense? So everything we want to do is we understand, why do you really want it? So don't say something in here because you think it's cool or it's because it's what you think somebody else wants you to say or do. I want you to get really clear on what trips your trigger, right? I mean, why do you want this for yourself? Number 1. Number 2, do you truly believe it's possible? Do you think it's possible? Yes or no? Because if you don't, what are you going to do? You're not really going to wholeheartedly go after it. So you've got to know it's possible. What are ways that we can know it's possible? What are ways that we can look around? I don't care what it is. You may say you want to make $5 million a year selling real estate. How do we know it's possible? People are doing it. Yeah, people have done it. People are out there doing it every day, right? The guy that founded our company, Glenn Sanford, he is a legitimate billionaire, right? He started this real estate brokerage. Is he doing okay? Can we look at him as an example? If he can do it, why can't you do it? You know what I mean? Like, that's the reality. There are so many models of success out there. So number 2, do you believe it's possible? Okay. And the third thing you've got to do is answer this, and that is, are you willing to then do the work? Again, if any of those 3 are off, you're going to have some challenges. Not to say you can't do it, but you might have to get into coaching. You might have to deal with some things and overcome some belief systems. You might have to get some accountability to make you push through a little bit while you're building the skills and the habits. You might need a financial coach to help you understand how to reinvest your money properly. I'm not saying it's going to be easy to get there, but I will say this, real estate is simple. We're going to show you today a very simple way of making $1 million a year. It's simple, it's easy to understand, but it's not easy to execute, okay? The reason it's not easy to execute usually is because of this, number 1, what's in here, and number 2, because we just don't show up and do the work, okay? That's it. So it's really simple. For those of you who want to get there, answer these questions. Why do you want it? Do you believe it's possible? And are you willing to put in the work? Okay. Henry Ford said it, man. He said, if you think you can or think you can't, you're right. You nailed it. I love that quote. So did you guys know when you got into real estate, you really started a modeling career? I see your Instagrams, man. I know you did. But really, what do I mean by that? This is what I mean. I mean that modeling in this sense of business is about studying patterns of behavior. right? Studying patterns of behavior. Again, do we believe it's possible? Who do we look to that's already been there? And do we model what they've done? Success leaves clues, and so does failure. Which one do you want to study? Right? Obviously, the successful people have done it before it, and understand people have lived before us. So figure out again where you want to go. Start following those people. Start paying attention to them, because it's amazing what belief they can put in you just from watching some of their stuff or their content or getting to know them. Jared and I, over the last couple of years, Jared a lot more even than I have, has done a lot of stuff. And one thing we believe passionately is that sometimes you got to get out of your own market. You got to go meet people, right? You surround yourself in a room. You don't typically want to be the smartest guy in the room, do you, Jared?
No.
So we want to go out and surround ourselves with people smarter, better, higher functioning than us. And when you meet those people, you'll be amazed. I want you guys to know this. You'll be amazed how accessible they really are, how open they are about how they've gotten where they want to go. So don't ever be afraid to ask them questions. You're not bothering them. Most of them love it. Most of them are at a point in their career where they love sharing their story about how they got where they want. Most of them are at a point where they're so confident and comfortable with who they are that they're happy to share. So lean on those people. Ask them. Ask Jared. Ask myself. Ask other people when you go to these events if you can grab a cup of coffee with them, or if you can pull them aside for 5 minutes and ask them 1 or 2 questions, and they will pour back into you. So start networking, because again, another phrase that Jared's passed around a lot, literally the last year or two, is that one conversation can change your life. Pay attention to this. This is another thing where a lot of us get stuck. We get in our own way. This is continuing that conversation. A lot of us start over here when we get going. We maybe look at some of these patterns of behavior and we're like, yeah, that's pretty cool, but I'm going to do it my way, right? That's pretty cool, but I think I can make it even better. And so we take something that's already working and we try to plus it from day one instead of just going and doing the model itself, right? Let's get the foundational systems in place. Let's put in the things that we have proven to work. And after it's getting us an ROI, then we can get creative. Then we can run some split tests and do different things like that, right? But until then, trust me today, the models we're talking about, just put those in place first and go from there. You're all good. Let me get some of my stuff here out your way, all right? So start, commit to the models, and then also understand this. So everybody in this room has a natural ability, God-given gift, right? And what that is all of us, whatever it is, we're going to start out running on kind of this natural energy, this natural enthusiasm. We're fired up. We're ready to take on the world. 2026, baby, here I come, right? We're going for it. But what's going to happen is at some point you're going to hit a ceiling, okay? We all do. Some people hit that ceiling at 2 or 3 million. Some people can do 20 or 30 million as a solo agent, whatever it might be. But we're all going to hit it. And what has to happen then is when you hit that, how do you react to that, okay? If you hit that ceiling 2 or 3 times and you're not aware of this concept, I've seen a lot of people use that as a sense of frustration, a sense of resignation, then even like, man, I'm just not cut out, I guess, to hit this high level in this business. But I like real estate, maybe I'll go become a loan officer, or maybe I'll go into title, or maybe I kind of want to stay in this space, right? And they'll get over there and they'll be fired up again, but what happens? Same thing, over there they hit their ceiling. It's their natural ceiling, right? So what we want to start understanding is that when we hit that, once you start to understand that that's going to happen, you recognize it. And at that point you shift. You say, okay, I need to go back now, and I need to look at the models. I need to look at the options. I need to look at the systems. I need to maybe talk to somebody to help me break through and figure this out. And then from then on out, you're going to continue to hit ceilings throughout your continual growth. But what's going to happen is once you break through 1 or 2 of them, you're going to know what they feel like. You're going to feel them coming sooner, you're going to recognize them sooner, and you're going to be more prepared for it. It's not going to be such a head game with you. You're like, oh, here we go. I joke with a lot of people around me that I constantly live on the edge of a breakdown or a breakthrough. That's it. Like I'm trying to push, right? It's like, is that you too? I'm totally that way. I'm either going to totally freak out today, or we're going to have some greatness about to happen, right? It's just kind of that thing. And when you start to live that and recognize it, you can handle it, right? And you don't give, you just realize, I just need a couple tweaks. I'm a couple tweaks away from going next level, okay? So be prepared for that, because everybody in here, if you're trying to live a big life, you're going to hit ceilings along the way. And Isaac Newton says, and I love this, he says, if I've seen further, it is because I've stood on the shoulders of giants, right? Again, models, right? We're talking about behavior, models, people have done it. We've got people to look at. We know it's possible. You just have to believe that it's possible. Okay. And then this, finally, begin with the end in mind. That's what we're going to talk about today. We won't get all the way back to one-year plans probably today, but we're going to talk about the big stuff. We're going to talk about thinking big. We're going to talk about aiming high. We're going to talk about that because if you set big goals, what happens to the little ones? They get hit, right? If you really are shooting for something big, the little ones happen. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have, maybe some of you might have certain short-term needs that you're thinking about. You're like, man, I've really got to hit this today because I need to eat, I need to pay my mortgage, I need to do whatever. I respect that, right? I understand that. But still, today's not about that. Today's about thinking big and going big and understanding along the way you'll hit all those little goals, okay? Do we want to take a break now? Do we want to go ahead and do that?
Whatever works
I'm
best
good.
for you. So,
I'm good.
okay, well,
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go ahead.
You want to
I
introduce
should've-
Christian? Yeah, the realtor. I have to put the altar.
I already knew it just looked stupid.
Actually, they reduced the price to $1,000 less. I was like, hey, $1,000 closer. You know what? Like, see,
Good, good. What's going on?
I don't want to waste your time because you're not going to take
How are you?
No, it already will. It's very smart. This is great.
Got yours ready to go? Where that came from? Just throwing stuff at you now.
I know.
All right, go ahead, eat, jump down. Let's get rocking and rolling. We got a lot to cover. So, any questions so far? We good so far? All right. What you're going to do is, well, you're eating. Well, we do need to do this. So, the back of the sheet, on the back of your sheet, I want you to, you probably actually need 2 sheets, so don't necessarily do quad. Probably just split it down the middle because you're going to do a fair amount of writing. Okay? So what we're going to do is grab a sheet basically like this, split it down the middle, and we're going to start doing a little exercise. You're going to get your brain going. That is a good thing before all that food settles in your belly. Get your brain working. Okay?
So you said a quad? Okay.
Yeah, I think you'll do enough writing that I found people probably need 2 sheets instead of 1 sheet and 4s, right? So we're going to do 2 sheets, just split down the middle. So take 1 sheet, just on the back of your workbook if you want, however it works for you. And what I want you to do right now, I want you guys to imagine that it's 5 years from now, okay? And we're sitting there, we're having a conversation with each other, and you say, Jeff, you wouldn't believe it, my life is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. You would not believe how cool it is. Write down what one thing has to happen for you to say that.
Within 5 years?
Yep, 5 years. And believe when I say 5 years, you can be in a completely different spot than you even think. So allow yourself to think big right here, okay? What one thing has to happen for you to say, Jeff, you wouldn't believe it, my life's amazing. Like it is so good. Okay? Write it down up here in the top left.
What do you mean when you say that? Do you mean like what do I have to do for me to be able to say that, or what, or?
What are you experiencing? What have you accomplished?
Okay,
What's your life
perfect.
look like?
Okay.
Don't make it more complicated than what it is, Mama.
We tend to do that though, right?
I need to
So,
make sure.
what one thing has to happen? All right, does everybody have their one thing? Usually the first one's pretty quick, but not always. I don't want to rush you. Does everybody have their one thing? Now here's underneath that. Do we have multiple colors by any chance, Jennifer? I don't want to make you get up, but
No, I was just thinking I should have brought in more markers.
so the next thing right below that though, what I want you to do is I want you to define it. Because what did we talk to all successful people? What's their one secret? What do they all have? Oh, they have massive clarity, right? So most people, when they first write their one thing, it's not massively clear. It's kind of vague, honestly, most times. So maybe, I'm just going to give you an example, okay? So maybe you said something like financial freedom. Just saying. That tends to be a popular one, okay? If you said financial freedom, what does that mean? You can't say financial freedom. I need you to get very clear. I need you to have clarity on what that looks like. What does financial freedom mean? So, for example, how much money in the bank would you need to say that? How much debt do you have to pay off? Credit cards, mortgage, cars, right? How much money do you need to have in cash flow every single month? Just coming in on autopilot or whatever to say that. You see what I'm saying? I'm like, get specific. Don't be vague. Because we can't measure things that are ambiguous. right? If we want financial freedom, how much credit card debt do you have? $5,000, $30,000, $37,278? I mean, get clear on what that looks like. Does that make sense? So whatever your one thing up here was, I want you to define it fully underneath it. Okay? So kind of paint that picture, if you will, right? So what one thing has to happen for you to say in 5 years your life is absolutely amazing, and then define it clearly. Okay, and then below that, I want you to answer this question. Why is that important to you? Why is that your number one thing? So what one thing has to happen for you in 5 years to say your life is absolutely amazing? Clearly, get clear, what does it really look like? Why is that important to you? And then I want you to do this. I want you to really imagine right now that you've actually had that happen. Feel that that's happened in your life. Like, this is actually where I'm at. So take a second and just breathe a minute, right? Like, you are there. This has really, really happened in your life. You are there. How does it make you feel knowing you've had that happen in your life? Write down the words of how it makes you feel. To know that you've actually, whatever that one thing is, to know that's really present in your life, that that's happened, you're living that, that is your reality. How does it make you feel that you've been able to accomplish that? All right, so it's 5 years from now. All right, you say, Jeff, you wouldn't believe it, my life's absolutely amazing, man. This one thing has happened in those 5 years. Here's exactly what that looks like. Here's why that was so important to me in my life. And knowing that I'm now living that reality, here's how it makes me feel that I'm there. All right? What second thing over here has to happen for you to say that? What second thing has to happen in your life to say, my God, it's even, you wouldn't believe it's even more amazing. Not only did this one thing happen, but the second thing happened too. Okay? What second thing has to happen in your life to say it is absolutely amazing? And the same process here, right? So I need you to do what with that? I need you to be clear. I need you to define it. You might need to paint a little mental word picture or whatever of that, right? Get clear on it. It's just a plus, right? Took it to another level.
That took the first thing to the next level?
Just your life in
Oh,
general.
okay.
It doesn't have to build off the first one at all. It can be
Gotcha.
completely unrelated. Just something else you would just love to see in your life. Great question. Thank you. And if you've already written that below that, I want you to answer why is that important? The second thing has to happen. Get clear, paint a picture of it. Why is that important? If you've done through that, I want you again to pause for a second. Imagine that it's really in your life and it's happened. How does it make you feel knowing you've been able to accomplish that in these last 5 years? Told you we were going to spend a lot of energy on mindset today, right? So I warned you, didn't I, a little bit? Okay.
Come back here, I got a seat for you.
Basketball practice in 4 hours, gotta go yell at little girls.
We'll see it. All right. We'll see it. All right. So, again, 5 years from now, right? You say, Jeff, you wouldn't believe it. My life's absolutely amazing. Here's what's happened. This one thing has happened. It looked exactly like this. Here's why it's important to me, and here's how it makes me feel. And believe it or not, the second thing happened. And this is what it looks like. This is why it's been important to me, or what it did for my family, whatever, right? And this is how it makes me feel. Now, I need you to do, guess what, a third thing. What's a third thing that can happen in your life to take it to a whole nother level? Let's get that brain juices going before the food hits the belly, right? Before it settles in too deep.
And this is still within that 5 year span?
Yeah. It can really be any span, but 5 years, again, you can reinvent, man. For 100%, you can reinvent. So what third thing? Just take it off the charts. And define it, right? Same thing, you gotta get clear. What does it actually look like? Also seeing the lettuce right there real quick made me think of something. It made me think of something. So Jennifer, this makes me think about what was going to be served.
Uh-huh.
and how hard that would
How, I know. So if you guys don't know, we were originally gonna have chicken wings.
Oh, yeah.
Could you imagine eating that and trying to write and shift your papers around? Like,
So I called Christian this morning when he texted me, I'm going to get chicken wings. I'm like, Christian, please do not bring Christmas wings.
yeah, as much as we love that, save that for maybe after for happy hour or something, right?
Impossible
Yeah.
for this presentation.
I would have no notes.
Yeah. Exactly,
I
right?
would have it all over.
So, all right, so this third thing has happened. You've gotten clear on it, right? Now, why is that important to you? What does it do for you, for your family, for your community, whatever it is? Why is that important? And right now, they're just writing on a back section of the paper. This is not like a worksheet in the book. Okay. And same thing. Project yourself in that moment. You've accomplished it. How does it make you feel? So you say, Jeff, you wouldn't believe it, man. My life is amazing. It's been 5 years since we hung out in Overland Park at Jennifer's office. In that time, this one thing has happened. This is what it looks like. This is why it's so important to me and my family and everybody around me. Right? And this is how it makes me feel knowing I've accomplished that. Believe it or not, the second thing happened, took it over to another level. This is what it looked like. This is why it's important to me. This is how that makes me feel. And holy moly, but a third thing happens. Right? This is what it looks like. This is why it's important. And this is how it makes me feel. Guess what we're going to do?
A fourth one.
A fourth one! What fourth thing has to happen? Or could happen, or whatever, that just sends it all over the top? Don't forget to define it clearly. What does that fourth thing look like? Get as specific as you can. Why is that important? And how does it make you feel knowing you've accomplished that in your life? In 5 years, man, you have reinvented who you are. right, it's been 5 years, right? Say, Jeff, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe this one thing's happened to me. Now, this is what it looked like exactly. This is what really happened clearly. This is why it was important to me. This is how it made me feel, right? Then the second thing happened, right? This is what it looks like. This is why it's important. This is how it makes me feel, knowing that I've accomplished that in my life. Then this third thing happened that I never imagined would happen. Here's what that looks like. Here's why it's important. Here's how it makes me feel. And my God, but this fourth thing happened, took it to the next level. Right? This is what that looks like. This is why it's important to me. And this is how it makes me feel. Right? So let me ask you guys this. Was it easier for you to answer number 1 or number 4?
Number 4.
Was it was easier for you to get to 4? Okay.
No, harder.
Harder
yeah.
to answer number 4, right?
I actually had to reorder mine.
Okay.
She kept asking me, then I started like, okay, I had to switch some things around. If
Okay.
it goes in order of what you think is like, how it is like.
So let's hover there for a second, if that's cool, right? So, why did you shift it up? What did you find the difference was between number 1 and maybe number 3 or 4 or whatever?
Yeah. Well, my number 1 at first was financial freedom because that's just something that I want to accomplish for my kids or whatever. But and I didn't know. I guess I was confused if we were talking about like work related or your whole life. So then when she asked that question, so then I thought about what's like the foundation of everything in my life, and then I'm just talking about my relationship with God. So then I started and I had to change it with my foundation first, and then I went in order.
So here's, and I appreciate you sharing that. You don't really need to reorder just because we're getting ready to go with it, but I appreciate you recognizing pretty quick. What tends to happen is number 1 for most people, and mine as well when I did this, was financial driven. It was money, okay? It's usually some type of money or success metric for most people. Not everybody. And, you know, if you didn't, you're not weird or anything, right? Just most people, that's their gut. They go on here with a money thing up top. By the time they get to 3 and 4, it's usually not financial anymore. Sometimes it is, okay? But it's usually not. It usually shifts to things like faith, family, community, something along that line, okay? I don't know where your journey took you, and that's fine. But I will tell you, when I first did this, I was 30, I was single, I was running and gunning, man. I was all about numbers, math, money, toys. It took me 5 hours to go through this one-on-one with my coach because I'd never looked internally, right, ever. So I was rattling off things like number of rental units, number of businesses I was going to own, amount of cash flow every month, vacation properties, all this stuff, right? And he stopped me and he said, listen, Jeff, he said, I understand you kind of know your numbers or whatever, right? You know where you want to go business-wise. He said, but I've got a different question for you when we go through this now, and I want you to answer it based on what kind of man you want to be. I was like, holy shit. I had never asked myself that question anyway at 30, right? That's why it took 5 hours. Like we had stuff all over my loft, just sticky notes everywhere, right? And it took forever, and that old kind of cliche, like I laughed, I cried, man, I was all over the emotional spectrum of it, and it completely changed my trajectory. And 5 years later, I never would have guessed I got where I got in 5 years, okay? Because once you get clarity, everything that happens along the way is just a bump. Once you know why you're doing it. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to take your pen, and I want you to just really rapidly, I don't want you to think as little as possible when you do this, okay? And circle any word that jumps out at you on your page. Any word. Doesn't matter. You can, same word you might circle 5 times. Doesn't matter. Any word that just pops, like bam, like hits you in the face. Just rapid fire, 10 seconds. I mean, I'm talking 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Just start circling words that really jump out at you. Got it? Pretty close? So, is anybody comfortable enough sharing at least some of the words that jumped out on their page? Yes.
Foundation.
Okay.
And intentional.
Okay.
family and freedom.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Anybody else?
Relieved family and time.
Okay, awesome.
Risk, not surviving, being intentional, serve more people, lead by example, CEO mindset.
Cool. Inside. Got something you want to share?
I'll go. My dad's goals, happiness, traveling, creates freedom and accomplishments.
Me. Serenity, gratefulness, choose God, purpose, peace.
Beautiful. Cool. So, how many of those, very few of them, talked about money in the bank account? So, what's interesting about that as you go through this exercise is we start here, but we're really going to our core. Okay? So, this is designed to take you down to your core of what really fuels you. So, I want to challenge you a little bit again here today and say, if we built a business that made you accomplish all those words you just circled, is that a pretty damn good life? If you felt serenity, peace, accomplishment, freedom, time, right? Travel, all these different words, your foundational stuff, your faith stuff, right? If you're serving more people, right? If you hit that, where's your life? It's on a different level, right? So now, I love this exercise because I want you to kind of hold on to those, because that's really what we want to try to build the business to accomplish for you. Now, like it or not, what do we have to do in life? We have to pay for it, right? We have to pay for it. So I don't like to start and just focus on money, but the reality is we have to have money to build this life. Does that make sense? So we've got to do this. We've got to go the next step, and that is we have to put a price tag on it. Okay? We got to put a price tag on it. So how much is it going to cost for you to live that life? For you to feel, well, that doesn't work. It's for you to have freedom. I don't even need that. I don't even need that. You guys can do this on your own. How much is it going to cost for you to have those feelings that you need? To feel like you've got the time to lead others and to do the serving and to have the freedom or to travel or to be debt free or all these different things, to feel secure, to feel at peace. What would you have to have? Because then we'll build the business to make it happen. Fair? Okay. So for some of you, it may not be $10 million, right? So when I first did this, what was really, I'll share while you're thinking this, I'll share my story. When I first did this, my answer was 50 grand a month passive income. Okay? That was my answer. What happened, life changed, got married, had a baby, just different things, and it changed some of my circled words, right? And that changed things in my mindset. And then the second thing that happened was a good friend of mine who earns about $10 million a year. We had a dialogue. And I'm like, dude, I want to be like you. And he said, probably not. You really don't. Like the sacrifice he made to get there, he's like, you probably don't want that, really? He said, so let's talk about it with real clarity. He said, what do you earn? And I told him. He said, okay. He said, your life and mine are almost the exact same. He said, the only difference is when I fly to Colorado to ski, I'm on my private jet. When I land, I stay at my log cabin mansion. But there's nothing stopping you from flying American Airlines to Steamboat. There's nothing stopping you from skiing there and renting an Airbnb with your family. He's like, your experiences at a certain level of income are really my experiences too. It's just I maybe have more assets behind it. So he just challenged that thought. So what my life after that happened, this is probably 8 or 9 years ago, my shift then became, how can I keep earning X amount a year? And instead of doing it in 60 hours, doing it 40, and 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, then 0 maybe, right? It became a challenge to raise my passive number versus my active goal, so I had time. Time became my asset. Does that make sense? So I could come here and spend a day with y'all, right? Not worry about it. So those kind of things. So think about that. I will say for most people, the magic number to have freedom, be debt free, some of those things, maybe not have tons and tons of assets just yet. A magic number tends to be about 20 grand a month. 20 grand a month for most people pays a really nice mortgage, pays for a really nice car, allows you to travel, allows you to save for retirement, allows you not to worry about paying for the groceries, right? So if you're thinking you might need 50, you might be surprised, right? If you think you may need 50 grand a month, you probably don't. I'm just saying, right? That's kind of the magic number I've seen.
You know, coffee.
But I'm more than happy for you guys to raise your number, do whatever you want with your number, right? But I just, if you're thinking right now, sort of like I did before, I just trying to be transparent with you, right, about my journey. So, do you have an idea of what your number would be? If so, we need to write it down, because that's what we're going to start working with, whatever your number is. Okay?
Would you, so basically, would you, monthly, right?
What you got monthly?
You can do monthly. That's probably easier for us to think about it first, and then we'll turn it into a year, because we're going to do a business plan. Okay? So how much a month would you need to feel free, to feel peaceful, to feel, to start getting debt free, to have all these, or if you are debt free already, because it's 5 years from now, what would that number look like for you?
Okay, so that's the thing. You're basically asking us 5 years from
I think we should think that way.
now to get to 5 years, or
I think 5 years, do your stretch goal, your tippy toe, big thought, like push yourself, challenge yourself to think bigger. Yeah, think bigger than maybe you have, and along the way it's going to shift. Because as you start having these different experiences, things will just align differently or whatever. But I want you today to think maybe bigger than you thought, okay? Think a little bit bigger than you thought, because we're going to build the models around that. And along the journey, you may say, I don't really need that. Kind of like I did, right? But we built a business model based on my first numbers. We built the business model based on $600,000 a year, $50,000 a month, and it being passive, right? So with that in mind, I got about 4 years into it. I'm like, I really don't need that as much as I need this now, right? Because I had a baby along the way. Like I said, just priority shifted. And when you start to experience what I was doing to get to that other one, I'm like, I was losing a relationship. I wasn't doing a lot of the right things to get there. Let me put it that way. So, well, let's think big, and then we'll step back. I will say this. Most people in 1 year, they tend to overestimate what they can do in 1 year. They say, let's say you're doing $1 million or $2 million a year or $3 million a year right now, and you say, I'm going to do 12 or 15 this year. You might, okay? But most people, that's an overshot of it, right? They don't jump that high in 1 year. But we tend to underestimate what we can do in 5 because things stack, okay? I want you to start thinking like this, okay? This is what I found with my most successful coaching clients. First of all, it's that clarity. They've got clarity on why they want this stuff. They've got clarity on those answers, those core value things. That's what drives them. The stuff we just went through, right? Then they're thinking the next thing is, if you really want to succeed at a super high level, you got to start thinking about people over profits, right? People first, profits come. Whether it's clients you're focusing on, whether it's you're building a team and you're focusing on helping them reach their goals, right? If you pour in first, you ultimately get back tenfold, right? So people over profits. The next thing is think about those possibilities. Don't put any limiting beliefs based on where you're at today. And that's hard to do, but don't just try and get rid of that. Understand we need to get the models in place in your business. We then have to start taking action, plain and simple. We've got to understand failure is not an option. We're going to hit some roadblocks. We're going to hit some setbacks, but that's not failure. Don't let them define you. What happens, what I've seen at least, people that don't have this big reason and they don't have this clarity, closing falls through the day of closing. It was the only one they had on the books. What do? Some of them quit. I'm not cut out for this. People suck. Whatever, right? Mm-hmm. I've said it plain. I used to say real estate's great except for the people, So I had some of those things that were in my head too. I've been through it. But that's when people that don't have clarity oftentimes will walk. They'll take a different direction, okay? For you, it's not an option. It's just a learning moment, okay? It's a setback. Understand this too, your past does not determine your future. I want you guys today to start falling in love with your future more than your past. Start falling in love with what you wrote down today. If you need to refine it later, refine it. You owe it to yourself to fall in love with the future version of yourself more than the past version of the bullshit stories you've been telling yourself in a lot of cases because you bought into something somebody else said somewhere along the way, right? Fall in love with the future more than your past. I want you to start understanding time versus money. There's a great book, if you haven't read it yet, called 10X is Easier Than 2X. Basically, it challenges the way we think. Most of us think like 2Xers, meaning I'm making 100 grand, I want to make 200 grand. Okay? Generally, when we think like that, all we're doing is giving ourselves a bigger to-do list, more things that we need to take action on. When you start thinking about how would I do 10X, it challenges completely the way you're thinking, and you'll find out in a lot of cases, it's not necessarily you anymore. It's about systems, models, leverage, others, how to succeed at a higher level, things maybe you need to stop doing. Does that make sense? Like, how could I make this catastrophic leap? So think about time versus money is that regard, is that we don't just want to double our income by doubling our efforts. If we're going to double our income, we'd like to at least have the same life balance or better along the way. Okay? What's the point in having all that money if you don't get to enjoy it? Right? And the last thing is LCV. And what LCV is that's what I call lifetime client value. This kind of goes back into people over profits. To understand that your client, this is not transactional. This business is not transactional. If you do it that way, it's going to be a short business for you, right? Or you're going to be grinding nonstop. You're going to want to, and we're going to talk about it more a little bit today, but your average client is worth 10, 15, 20 times that one deal, okay? Because of repeat business and referral business. They're not worth 5 or 10 grand. They're worth 100 or 200 grand. Treat them like it. I don't care if they're buying a $30,000 beater in the hood that should be burned down. Their uncle may be buying something else, or that person, when he gets at rehab, may go on and buy 100 more of those, right? So lifetime client value, people over profits, serve everybody at a high level. So these are the models of your business that we're going to cover. We're going to cover the economic model. We're going to talk about the lead generation piece, the budget model, and then the team model. So we're going to start really cooking through, okay? So, mental break. We're not actually going to take a break unless you guys need to. Do you need to after eating and having some drinks and stuff? Are we good? If you do need to, just take a break. Sound fair? So far, where are you guys at? How's your headspace? You doing good? Feel good about where you're going? Feel like you're getting a little more clarity about what you want to do in life? Challenging you. Challenging myself, really, see if I'm on the right path. All right. So this one, we're going to get clarity. We're going to have fun with math now. We're going to get into your workbook, okay? So we're going to talk about the numbers that you've got to hit. We're going to talk about your appointments that you need to get every week. We're going to talk about conversion rates. How many do you need to meet to sign an agency? How many agency agreements do you need to sign to get it to close? We're going to talk about gross commission income and net operating income. So the first kind of thing I want to show is this. And this is that $1 million net income. So what we talk about today is based on scaling big, okay? Scaling to where you're not even running the business anymore. It runs without you. To do that, I'm just going to give you the high points. To take home $1 million a year, you need to generate $2.4 million in income, okay? Because you got expenses. You're running a team at that point. You got staff, extra tech, extra marketing, rental space, probably all these different things. You're going to spend about $1.4 million out the door. And you're going to keep $1 million, okay? So those percentages start to be important. Now, I don't want you to get overwhelmed with this. We're just talking about a big model, okay? So if you want to do that, basically you would have to sell 320 houses a year at $250 each. If you sell basically a house a day, you make $1 million, okay? Is it possible to sell a house a day? Is there a house a day being sold in this area? How many houses are sold in this area a year? Roughly. Anybody know the stats? How many houses are sold in Greater Kansas City in a year? Do you have any idea? I don't. I know in Springfield, a small market, I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar market. If Springfield's a multi-billion-dollar market, yours is a lot bigger than mine, right? So if it's multi-billion and I need to sell about 80 million, I'm still a drop in the bucket. Does that make sense? So it's out there. It's available for you if you want to go there to do, and it's not you doing 320 deals. I just need you to keep that in mind, right? Once you get good at generating leads, all you got to do is duplicate yourself. So the first thing we got to do is we want to start breaking it down to the simple. We want to focus on appointments. How many appointments do you need to make your money? If you focus on appointments, then how many become clients? That's conversion rate. How many become sales? All that good stuff. So here's where we're going to talk with your little sheet. But think about this, we've kind of talked about it already. This is where the magic happens, okay? The magic happens around month 18 to Well, a year and a half to 3 years is where the magic happens. That means you're laying these models in place that I begged you earlier to pay attention to the models before we're getting creative, okay? Put the models in place, put the systems in place that we're going to talk about today. Do them really, really well. Because then when you do, all you've got to do is duplicate them. You either scale them up by reinvesting more money into that system or by having another person come alongside of you and help operate that system as well. Does that make sense? It becomes duplicatable. But what happens is sometimes people get frustrated right around here because they're not seeing catastrophic growth. They're seeing the work. And remember earlier we said 3 things have to happen. You got to have what? You got to know your reason for doing it. You got to believe it's possible. And you got to do the work. Okay? This is when it feels like work because you're going to feel like you're grinding. You're going to feel like you're working super hard because you've been laying in all these foundational pieces. You've been taking massive action. But then this hockey stick happens, and you literally, once you've got that done, you start plugging people in, man. And they just duplicate your efforts 5 and 10-fold. One of my good friends in Springfield, he was here. He was making about $100,000 net income. He just got in this business because he wanted to replace his salary as a cop, making $50, $60K a year. So when he got to 100, he was tickled pink. And then we challenged him, myself and a couple other coaches. We're like, you can do, like, you've got the ability to go wherever you want to go now. And once he understood and believed it, within 4 years, he had $1 million net income. Because he had been here and he did a lot of the right foundational pieces. And then we started duplicating, right? So you can, that's why I'm saying, even within 5 years, no matter where you're at today, if you want to be at that level, you can be at that level. You may stop halfway along there, and that's cool too, right? Not judging anything. But that's the true hockey stick curve. So grab the sheet, those that you have it. We're going to go ahead and put in your number. So what net income, or you could use $1 million, but what net income would you want to make a year? What would you want your take-home pay to be? Since my number earlier was 250, I'm going to play with that number, okay? So if I want 250 net income, that's our NOI, I need to figure out how much do I need to bring in at the top level. To do that, you're going to need your phone or calculator or whatever you got. Take your net income goal and divide it by 0.416.
Net income divided
By 0.416. And if somebody can do mine for me, I should have it memorized by now, but I don't. I think it's like 600 or something.
6,961.
What is it?
600,961.
So I'm going to make it 600 even. Okay. So you're going to divide that. That leaves this room for our expenses. First expense is cost of sale. Next one is operating expenses. They're both 29.2%. Okay. So you're going to take your 600,000, or in my case, multiply that times 29.2% or 0.92, whatever's on your calculator. Okay. So that's going to end up somewhere around, I'm just going to round it for my sake, 180,000. 180,000. Okay. But do yours. If your number's different than 250, divide it by 0.416, and then take that big number times 29.2%, and they're both the same. So once you do it once, you know what the other one is. Okay. Once you figure out what your cost of sale is, your operating expense is going to be the exact same.
29.2%.
Yes, ma'am.
So the number, like your 600, then
Yep.
we do that
Take it times, yeah.
times 29.2%.
Correct. And that's going to tell you what your cost of sale is, and then you do this, you basically use the exact same number to figure out what your operating expense is. So let me talk about these two numbers while you're doing that math and just explain them. Some of you may know what the difference is. Cost of sale is basically anything directly tied to your commission that comes out of your commission. So think about broker split. What you pay your broker, that's a cost of sale. What you pay your buyer's agent, that's a cost of sale. What you pay in referral fees to Veterans United or whatever, that's a cost of sale. Okay, it's a percentage usually tied to the closing. You end up spending about 30% in that as you get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, then your operating expense is basically everything else. It's your cell phone, it's your rent, it's your board dues, it's your marketing budget. As you start hiring your administrative team, it's their salaries. Okay, it's your lead generation expenses, which are really the biggest too, is lead generation and salaries when you get to this point. Like rent's a little bit, right? Phone bills a little bit. But that's your biggest expenses, okay? Questions about that before we move on? Okay?
Okay, so the cost of sales also we do it by 29.2%.
Yeah.
And that's the-
Yeah, for right now, they're the exact same. And again, along this journey, you may have a better net profit along the journey. We're talking about a fully leveraged team at this point. That's what those expenses account for, okay? When you're fully leveraged. So you may have a higher profit margin for a while when you're first growing and scaling because you're doing more of the work yourself. But pretty soon you're going to hire an administrator. You're going to hire the transaction coordinator. You're going to hire a marketing manager, operations manager. You're going to bring on a buyer's agent or a showing agent. And rapidly these numbers start to come out of your net, right? But this is where you're building a business. Okay, so let's get real clear, like we said we were going to get on, and that is the economic model of it. We're going to tell you exactly how many appointments you need every single week. Okay? You ready? You should have this sheet. So above this, at the very top of the sheet, above everything, right up around here on your sheet, write your number. The GCI number, the bigger number. Write your bigger number. Okay? At the top, just like at the very top above it. Just somewhere so you reference it. Okay? So whatever your number is, that's put your GCI number in, the big number from the last sheet. And what we're going to do is we're going to divide it 50% sellers and 50% buyers, because as your business gets bigger, you run a pretty balanced business. About every listing you bring in generates one closed buyer. Okay? Maybe more, but we're just going to, the bigger and bigger you get, it ends up pretty balanced. Okay? So based on that, then I would have, what GCI from sellers would I have? Well, I'd have 300,000. So take half of what your number at top was and put it on each column over there, where it says gross revenue. You see what I'm saying? So right here, you're going to write that, whatever your number is. Mine's 300. You're going to write gross revenue from sellers and then gross revenue from buyers. Then I'm going to use 3% for an average commission. Yours may be higher or lower. Okay? If you know yours and it's different, put it in here. Cover my compliance fees, man. Hey. I will say actually mine's closer to 2.7 in all reality. Because we do some bank deals that are 2.5 or 2. We do some builder stuff that's, maybe not 3. Sometimes we sell stuff for 4, whatever it might be. But so I'm going to use 3. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your number, divide that number, 300,000 divided by 3%, to get the volume sold that you need. So in my case, it's 10 million from sellers and 10 million from buyers. You guys with me so far? This is important you understand this stuff, right? So if I want to earn $300,000 in commission from sellers, and if I get 3% per deal, I have to sell $10 million of sellers to make 300,000 in commission. Does that make sense? 10 million times 3% is 300 grand. Okay? If I'm doing the same thing on my buy side, just mirrors it. It's the same number. I sell 10 million at 3% to get 300,000. Okay? So then I'm going to use, below that on your sheet is average sale price. My market's 250. Yours is higher. I don't know what it is. But mine's my average house sale price in Springfield's 250. Okay? If you know yours, if it's 350, use it. If it's 400, use it. Whatever your number might be. If you don't know, 250 is a good round number. For math. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide again. Okay? So 10 million divided by 250,000 tells me how many closed deals I need. So I need 40 closed sellers and 40 closed buyers. Okay? So take your volume that we just did on the sell side, Divide by your average sales price. It's going to tell you how many closings you need of listings, seller listings. Do the same thing on the right-hand side of the sheet, and it'll tell you how many number of buyers you need to close. Okay? I want you guys to make sure you're getting this, because this is important stuff.
On the average sales price, what do you recommend? To go into what's average sales price in our area, or just to do a kind of conservative number?
If you know yours, great. If not, as you get bigger, your numbers will mirror the market average. So use the market average, whatever that is. 350 or something around here, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, that's how I use 350.
Okay. So take your volume number divided by 350. Yeah. And that'll tell you how many number of listings, seller listings you need to close, and then how many number of buyer deals you need to close. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about conversion rates. We need to know not every seller we work with gets to the closing table. Not every buyer that hires us gets to the closing table. How many sellers do we need to meet with? I mean, how many sellers do they need to hire us? Well, about 2 out of 3 listings will close. So you're going to take your number, mine's 40. You're going to take your number, though, and divide it by 65%. And that's going to tell you how many you need to sign an agency with. Okay, so if I take 40 and divide by basically 2/3, it's 60. I need to have 60 listings. If I take 60, 40 will sell. Okay? Now, some of you have been in business a short time are like, that's jacked up. Everything I list sells. Reality is, in the real market, it doesn't. All right? People don't listen. They don't do the price reductions. They don't stage it. They let their dog pee everywhere. I mean, whatever, right? Their job transfer falls through. They get a divorce. I mean, whatever. Stuff happens. About 2 out of 3 will make it to the closing table.
So
Okay?
that number is for a row that says seller listings taken?
Yep.
And buyers listings taken?
Yep, exactly. But the number's different on buyers. Okay? You use the number that's on the buyer side. Your conversion rate of buyers is 80%. Okay? So if you sign a buyer agency, 8 times out of 10 they'll get to the closing table. Yeah. So you're going to take on the seller side, you take your closed units divided by 0.65. Right? We got that. On the buyer side, take your number of closed deals divided by 0.8. Okay? And that'll give you number of signed agency agreements you need to have. Now, we want to talk about the conversion rate. Well, if I want to sign 60 listing agreements, how many do I have to meet with? Well, the conversion rate, if you sit down with a seller, 80% of the time you're going to close them. If you sit down with a buyer, these numbers are just flip-flop. It's 65%. Okay? So 80% of the sellers that interview you and you sit down with, you will sign them 80% of the time. If you're good at your presentations. Okay? If you've gotten that dialed in. Buyers, it's about 2 out of 3. Okay?
I came up with the same number. Wow.
Yep. They're just flip-flop conversion rates. Yeah. Over time, yours might change depending on lead source, but for now, again, these are averages we're going to use. So it's going to be, in my case, it's going to be 75 appointments on each side. 75 seller appointments per year and 75 buyer appointments per year will work my way back up to a $600,000 GCI.
Okay, I get confused in the last
Yep,
one.
sure.
Sorry, so.
So where are you at? Okay, so right now we're number of listings taken, right? You want to
Yeah.
take that many listings, divide that by 0.65, and it's
Divide
going to
that
give
by
you,
okay.
yeah, that's going to give you 300 there,
Okay.
okay? So to hit those numbers, then what we do is I want you to kind of look at this. If I'm looking at this, that means 150 per year. That may seem like a big number because we're thinking, man, I'm not doing anywhere near that or whatever your number is. But divide that per week. What's 150 divided by 52? Basically, it's less than 3. Okay, but I'm going to use 3 for my number. So if I can folks start to, the idea of this whole exercise is to work it down and say, let's forget about 600,000 when we're thinking about what we wake up and do this week. Let's focus on the actions we're going to take this week. And the action I'm going to take this week, come hell or high water, I'm getting 3 new appointments this week. If I focus on 3 new appointments every week, I'm going to bring in, based on all these averages, 600,000 in revenue and net 250. Now, you can net more than 250 at this level, honestly, because you won't have as much leverage. But the same idea applies through. When we talked about 320 sales earlier on that one model, let's go ahead and go back to that, and you have some bigger numbers there. So what are we down to the appointments total?
Yeah.
Okay, so your number of appointments are 600 basically appointments per year to meet this life number that you want to have. When you're leveraged, that's 10 or 12 a week. Okay, so that's 12 appointments a week. If you have a team of 10 or 15, can they each do 1 a week?
Yeah.
It's a multi-million-dollar business. You just need to have the strategies, accountability, and leadership to keep and retain and attract 10 or 12 people that can wake up on Monday and focus on getting 1 appointment each that whole week. And you're running a 7-figure business. We did 1.4 million in GCI with a team of 8, and 3 of them were admin. Okay. Yeah.
Did you use the million?
Did I use, yeah.
Me too.
So fun, right?
Yeah.
But when you break it down and you start thinking like that, does it change your perspective on what's possible? Because when we first sat here, you may have said, yeah, $1 million would be cool, or $2 million would be cool, or whatever, but oh God, that's 320 deals and whatever. But when you really break it down, you say, no, because by then, all my operations are being handled. I already know my key performing metrics on what lead generation works, so if it works, I just spend more on it, right? And then if I can't service all the people, I just bring somebody in to service the people. Does it make sense? Like, it's like, oh,
So on the 220 seller listings appointments, that I divided by 4,
divide by 50.
50?
Because that's how many per week you would then need to go on.
So that's 4.4, so 5 appointments a week?
Yep. So stop focusing on this big number is kind of what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. The one thing, if you only focus on one thing, is number of appointments. Because what happens, we even all go all the way back to the very beginning of mindset, and one of those things is I'm not good enough. Okay? If you're going on 4 appointments a week, do you think your skill set's going to get better and better and better, faster and faster and faster?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that obliterates that even concept, because you're going to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. We're going to start with models. We're going to start with my presentation or somebody else's presentation or whatever, right? But you're going to then find your own scripting, your own tonality, your own way of handling objections that closes higher and higher and higher the more you do it. And you're going to get comfortable with it too and confident. So these are going to shift even a little bit more over time, but then all you got to do is think about it. It's not even, you could do 4 a week yourself for sure, right? And then maybe somebody else takes all your buyers off your plate and you're just doing listings all week, which will drive the 4 buyer appointments, because every listing is going to get you at least 1 buyer out of it. So right there, you're $1 million business. So what do you have to do? What does your infrastructure need to look like to drive 4 listing appointments a week? That would be what I would challenge you to start thinking about. Right? We can talk about all that fun stuff. Okay? Questions? Does it feel doable when we break it down like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that means even if I'm doing it by
It
myself,
does,
I'll
but
do
here-
8 appointments a week.
Whenever you get to the appointments a week, what did you do? What number
So
you use?
take that divided by 50.
Okay, perfect.
You can do 52 if you want really specific, but 50 is a good round number, right? You're figuring out how many a week you would need to go on, because that's your annual number. The bigger number is that per year number. And again, realize it's not you doing it all at that level. When you're at that big of a level, you're not doing it all. Okay. So, hopefully, I think that is the nugget, right? I mean, the nugget seems like is it's doable. I mean, if I wanted, if I can do 1 or 2 or 3 a week, if I can focus on 3 a week, I hit these numbers. If I can do 3 a week, that honestly means your systems are pretty good. Like, you figured out what works to generate enough leads and appointments for you. So if you've done that, then you just got to think about how you make sure it runs consistently. And if you can do it, then you just duplicate it. And then you're doing 6. And then you're doing 9. Then you're doing 12. Right? That's it. That's why I said in the very beginning, real estate, making $1 million a year in real estate, it's simple. It's not easy. It's not easy because we get in our own damn way half the time. Right? We overthink it. We don't take the action. We come up with excuses instead of reasons. That's it. That's all it is. Okay? Understand that you have enough people around you through our network of people, like myself and Jared and whoever else. There are several people in our group that perform or have performed at those levels. All you got to do is text us. You got a question, literally, text us. Let's hop on a Zoom. I mean, let's talk about it. Let's break through that stuff.
Like, and where's your number?
It's on the front page. Yeah, it's on the front page.
Don't grab me for good time.
Yeah, that's my cell. Use it. Seriously, use it. Use it. I will tell you, I tell everybody, I mean, I'll coach you for free all day long. What I won't do is I won't have the same conversation with you 3 times. Go do it. Get feedback, even if you screw up. Just come back and say, oh, I tried and this is what happened. Okay, well, let's make these tweaks, right? But don't call me back and say, what? No, it's the same damn time. I don't have the time to have the same conversation with you, right?
I'm gonna take your word for that.
Yeah, call, hook up. Let's look at that for sure. Okay, and understand this when it comes to lead generation in business. Lead gen is where the money is. The money is in the lead. You control the lead, you control the business. Okay, that's really every business, honestly. Leads are the fuel for your economic engine, guys. Once you define the number of leads you need to make the appointments happen, that's where we're going next. How do I get 3 appointments? That's what we're going to talk about. Okay. And then we'll create that lead gen model. So here's the main things you have to do this. You have to prospect and market when you get to that level. Okay, for most of us, when we get at that level, it becomes marketing based and prospecting enhanced. Okay, because we want to have systems as much as possible, leveraging time, spending money, reinvesting, holding our money accountable. But then we still got to pick up the phone. You still got to talk to people. You're still probably going to do open houses or networking events or phone calls, something along that line. And you need to have at least 3 key pillars. These are what I recommend in my experience. What I call the rapid volume maximizer. That's like, hey Jeff, I need a deal. Like I'm short of my goals. I need an appointment. What am I going to do proactively to go get an appointment today or tomorrow? What am I going to do? Right? So that's your prospecting base. That's you doing something. I don't care if it's cold calling. I don't care if it's door knocking. I don't care if it's doing an open house every single day. I don't care if it's going to 5 networking events a day and talking about who's buying and selling, right? It's doing something very proactively. The next one is your long game. That's your system that you're just going to set it and forget it. The old Ron Popeil commercials, man. Some of you probably don't remember Ron Popeil. But he had the rotisserie chicken thing. Like, set it and forget it, right? Just turn it on, you got a nice chicken later. But set it and forget it. That's what you can implement. That's your farming. That's your sphere marketing, different things like that. Just happens, okay? And then the last one is what I call your ATM referral machine. That's your automatic transaction machine. Your sphere should be an automatic transaction machine. You should know when you wake up January 1 how many deals you're going to get this year out of your sphere. Plain and simple. It's math. It may not, the thing about that is it may not be predictable in the sense of when, okay? Meaning, July you may have 6 closings from referrals. September you got 0. But for the year, you're going to have a certain percentage you can count on, okay? So if you wake up in September, you got nothing going and you need a check, what do? You go to number 1. You got to have that skill set and say, I need a closing this month, or I need 2, or I need 3. What am I going to do? Does that make sense why we have these? This balances out your lead gen and you get off the income roller coaster that a lot of real estate agents complain about. Because a lot of agents go out there, they work hard, they generate some deals, then they go into customer service mode, taking those to the closing table. They get them closed, they realize, holy moly, I don't have a pipeline anymore. And they go back and they work really hard again, and then they climb up that mountain, they get these closings, and then their pipeline's dead again. That's the roller coaster, okay? If you do these 3 things with 3 pillars, that's it. 3 pillars can make you 7 figures, okay? My team that did that money, we did prospecting, so we cold called. We did open houses, and we did farming. That was it. 3 things. We just did them really well, right? We did them really well. So that's you just find your 3. You're gonna want to find it.
Can you explain farming really quick?
Yeah, so we did geographic farming, but you can also do demographic, meaning you could do probate, you could do divorce, but you wanted it more consistent, like think attorneys, homes for heroes, first responders, school teachers. That's a demographic type of farm. You target a segment. The other one being geographic, like subdivisions. Okay? So think about something like that. If you do it, you don't just throw a dart at it and just say, I think this is a really cool neighborhood, I'm going to work this neighborhood. What you do is you look for turnover rate in that neighborhood, like is there enough business being done, that over time the neighborhood's replenishing, so I'm grabbing more and more mind share through consistent marketing to it. The second is there any market domination by a particular realtor? If somebody's got 40% or more in that neighborhood, it's going to be hard for you to crack it because they've been farming it and working it. Not saying it's impossible, but you better love that area and be prepared for the long haul. If there's a bunch of different agents and nobody has market domination, you can take it over. If you got a turnover rate of about 8% or more, you can take it over. If it's got a good enough average sales price to justify you spending the marketing on it, you can take it over. Okay? Your conversion rate on farming is going to be about 2 to 3%. So if you pick a 1,000 home neighborhood, with effort, you'll do 20 to 30 deals a year in that neighborhood if you do the right tactics. Okay? And it's got those other things I talked about. 8% or more turnover, no realtor domination. You can go in and just take it on. Take it over. Own that neighborhood. So a friend of mine in Miami, when I had the South Beach office down there, a guy named Rick Kendall, had his MBA, came in, corporate mindset, understood systems. He picked out a neighborhood with metrics, not because he was in love with it, because it made sense. So he spent a whole year working that one neighborhood, and he got ingrained in it. So what I mean by that, not just mailers, right? He did like the kids' Halloween costume contest in the neighborhood with prizes, right? He did like a family barbecue in the summer. Like he got visible as well, so he could press palms and kiss babies. If there was ever an open house opportunity in that neighborhood, he took it. If he'd borrow a listing from another agent to advertise it, he did it, right? He's very intentional. Then second year, he had it on a second farm. Third year, third farm. Fourth year, fourth farm. By the end of his fourth year, he did $37 million in volume from farming.
Do you recommend doing your own neighborhood?
If the metrics match, otherwise I wouldn't do it. It's a pure business decision.
The numbers have to make sense.
Numbers have to make sense. Now, if you're going to do it and you're trading time instead of money, sure. If you're going to like door knock, walk the neighborhood, walk your dog with your t-shirts, meet all the neighbors, talk to them, yeah, that's fine. But if you're really going to make it a system that's automated, you better make sure the metrics make sense. Yeah.
Well, I'm 53, and when I started real estate, it was completely a different game as far as farming, door knocking, pop-ups, that kind of thing. Is that the same thing that we do now? And that's something that I probably as a mental block and mindset thing, that I'm like, well, I know how to do and get leads real estate back then,
Yeah.
but
Not
what
much
is
has
it today?
changed.
Yeah.
Not much has changed. Yeah, I mean, you really talk to most top producing teams. They're still doing business the way it's been done for a long time. Social media enhances some things. Some people have successfully built like YouTube influencer businesses for real estate. The percentage of that versus people that take traditional methods and build a killer business, way different, right? Don't get lost in what's sexy on social. I mean, honestly, if that's your demographic and you're really good at it, great, go for it. But for me, I'm 53 also, it's not my thing. I repurpose some of my coaching content, stuff like that, to put it out there. But this is what grows my business. That just enhances my brand recognition a little bit. That's the way I feel it is for most people, honestly. Most of us still have to go out and press palms, kiss babies, and do those things, right? Most of us. There are exceptions to the rule, right? And actually farming, postcard farming, its efficacy rate has doubled in the last 5 years because people are so reliant on digital now that we're not getting as much jumbo postcards like we used to. So it actually stands out more than it used to. Just FYI. Okay. Good questions though. Questions more about this though, because we're going to deep dive a little bit. Okay. So this is kind of the process. You've got prospecting and marketing. You've got kind of this, think about, we want to move people always closer to the inner circle. The general public, think about that, it's like radio ads, billboard ads. It's not really targeted at all. It's just kind of thrown out there at large, okay? That's the type of marketing you can do. Don't do that till you have so much money, you don't need it, all right? You may have it work for you, but it's expensive to play that game. The next one is a target market. That's what we were just talking about, like farming, okay? Or maybe even expires, FSBOs, probate, whatever it is. But as soon as you make contact there, we're always wanting to move people in closer to here. You've got your vendors. If you're not getting business from your vendors, you need to reevaluate that relationship with the vendor, okay? Should be going both ways. Business should be going both ways. And the next thing is these target market and our vendors, we want them to eventually become part of our sphere of influence. We want to have a relationship with them. And from there, we want to identify our core advocates. We want to create a team of street warriors, right? So what I mean by that core, imagine this. Imagine your person, Bob, sitting in a restaurant. He hears the table next to him talking about buying or selling a house. Bob interrupts their conversation and tells him to call you, right? Even better, Bob calls you and hands him the phone and says, you need to talk to Emily. That's a core. That's a raving fan street warrior who's out there. They're worth a ridiculous amount to your business, right? We've had people literally sit there, I mean, like, hey, can you talk right now? Like this, I just walked by this guy in my office and he's looking at Zillow. Here, talk to him. That's a core. You know what I mean? They're interrupting that dude's search at work and saying, stop what you're doing. Just talk to Jeff and Kathy, right? Doesn't take many of those to have an incredible business. But that's the focus. We always want to drive it deeper. How do you feed the database? Lead capture systems like landing pages, IVR numbers, squeeze pages, lead magnets like free report, how to buy a home with no money down. Webinars now are becoming more and more popular because you can kind of automate them, things along that line. Then you got to nurture it with some type of contact management system. We've got to have the system in place once we fill the top of the funnel. How do we stay in touch and get them to say, now I'm really ready to take action? Then once I'm working with them, how do I service them? You want to make it duplicatable and repeatable, because what you will find is that people don't really do business with you because you're awesome. They do business with you because of the experience that you deliver, okay? And when you make that experience repeatable, then you can have other people that have your same standards come work with you, because they create this continuity between the experience they had with you and you hired me, and I'm going to deliver that same value and standard because I think like you. So the customer is not going to feel like they're handed off. Does that make sense? They're going to feel like it's cohesive. That's how you duplicate yourself. Then what happens after they close? How do you keep them in your world? And what do you do when people send you a referral? How do you reward the referral? Too many agents reward based on the closing. They maybe send a thank you gift or a card after it closes. They say, hey, the guy you sent me, Bob, he bought a house. Here's a gift card to a restaurant or whatever. That's not their job. Their job was to introduce you to begin with. Stop rewarding at the closing table. Start rewarding the behavior you want. Okay? It's our job to convert and close. And that person did the right behavior. So what we used to do, and it doesn't have to be big, right? So what we would do is we'd have a stack of our branded note cards in our top right desk-hand drawer, and we had a stack of discount movie theater tickets, right? As soon as we get a referral, we just drop it in the mail. We'll write a handwritten note. Thanks so much for being a valuable part of our business. We couldn't do it without you guys. Enjoy a night out on us, right? You could do it with Starbucks cards, coffee cards, gas cards. Just go spend about $100 so that when you get the referral, you're not then thinking about what you want to do. It's your system. Make sense? As soon as it happens, reward the behavior. They don't expect it, and when they do, you usually get a phone call. Man, I got your card. That's so cool, right?
That's what I missed it.
Do it. Do that. This in there immediately, right? As soon as you get it, send it out. Also, different thing, but same idea. I keep note cards in my truck in my door, so as soon as I leave an appointment, that goes in the mail before I even get home. Thanks for taking the time to meet with me tonight. I was honored to have the opportunity to walk in your home with you today, right? Simple, 3 sentences, goes in the mailbox on my way home. Make it a system. And then systematically market to it. So when you meet somebody new, oftentimes, or if it's even somebody you're trying to re-ingrain, let's maybe you shifted into this career, we've got to help them make a shift because they think of us however they know us, okay? And we want them to shift from how they know us into the fact that we're the pro. We're the real estate pro, because everybody only has room for 1 or 2 people for each thing in life. 1 or 2 realtors, 1 or 2 dentists, 1 or 2 landscapers. That's it. So we've got to become number 1 or number 2 if we want to earn the right to their business. So we got to rapid fire them at first to indoctrinate them on who we are and what we do. Yes, I met you at the Chamber of Commerce mixer, but I am this guy. Or yes, I met you in my small group at church, but I am this guy. Does that make sense? So you got to set that up. That's a rapid fire. Twice a week for 4 weeks. They're getting something from you. Okay? 2 phone calls. So what that looks like basically, I don't even know if I got room to write anywhere. So think about this. So like week 1, for example, it's going to be that note card immediately. Right? Hey, it's great meeting you the other day. I don't care if you have to mail it to their work because that's the only information you got right now. Send it wherever you got information for. So it's going to be a note card. It's going to be a phone call. A lot of times in my initial meetings, I'm trying to find out more about their family or about their business or whatever it is. That call usually will reference that conversation. So if they said, hey, I'm trying, and I say, what do you do for a living? Oh, okay, cool, you're a whatever landscaper. Hey, tell me how I can help your business. What kind of client are you looking for example? I lead with giving first, okay? And then with that being, this is a whole different class, but I lead with that, right? And then when I call back, I say, hey, I just wanted you to know that I'm really actively working on helping you find new clients. I don't have anybody right now, but I want you to know I took that conversation seriously, and every day I'm trying to find some people to help you out, right? What am I doing? I'm almost guilting them into reciprocity, right? Like if they said they were going to help too, or we got on some type of connection at all, I'm letting them know I'm thinking about them and their business or their life. I mean, I had one person tell me, and just in a conversation, they had a gifted child that was like 12 or 13 years old, and it was really, really hard because the kid was acting up all the time. He couldn't get enough challenge, didn't have enough resources, didn't know who to vent to, all these different things. I called him a few days later and said, I want you to know I've really been thinking about that. And as I started looking around, I realized one of my husband's wife counsels gifted kids. And I made that introduction. Do you think that changed that person's life? Because they didn't have resources, right? It changed their life, and then what do you think how the counselor felt about me too? Because what did I do for her? I referred her business and helped her grow her business, right? You want to play this connector. So that's what the call does with that. And then you do things like market snapshots, right? So you'll do 2 of those over that period. Maybe you'll do a team brochure or value proposition. Maybe you'll send them something just on your listing activities. Maybe you'll invite them to a seminar. Whatever else it is. It doesn't have to be complicated. You just want to think about what it is so you've got these touch points, right? And all of those things need to be branded with your information, who you are, and what you do. Okay? 8 things, but 2 of them are phone calls. Because the phone call is where the magic happens. Okay? But note card, phone call, market report, maybe it's an offer for free information on something, your listings that are available, maybe you're doing a home buyer seminar coming up in 60 days that Jennifer's helping you put on, right? Whatever it is, you're just going to start doing that stuff to get them indoctrinated. This is who I am, this is what I do, okay? Then after that, twice a month forever, okay? Twice a month forever. So twice a month forever, I like 1 hard copy something, whether it's a market snapshot, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's a postcard, doesn't matter, just something once a month that I can set up and it goes out. Don't overthink it. The next thing is usually something email based, okay? So it's a digital newsletter or whatever. So that's also easy to automate it. So we did the 1st and the 15th is how we manage it. That's when we do those things, okay? And then every 90 days, give them a phone call, okay? Touch base. The phone call is conversational. It's not salesy. It's strengthening the relationship. Through that, by focusing on the relationship, they inevitably ask you how business is. Okay? Then you'll talk business. But you're not going into the idea of it prejudging, I'm going to get business today out of this call. It's not it. You're calling to strengthen the relationship. Client appreciation events allows the one-to-many to happen, right? Whether it's a seminar, whether it's a thank you, whether it's a wine tasting, could be a family day cookout at the park. Doesn't matter. Do a couple of those a year, right? Don't be surprised if your first one doesn't have a huge turnout. Keep doing it, okay? That's it. Farming is once a month, okay? So if you're doing a demographic or a geographic farm, once a month something goes out. Until they make contact with you, then what do? Bam. Twice a week for 4 weeks. Rapid fire indoctrination. Then they move into your sphere, okay? Make sense? That's how we drive all these things. Once you get these systems going, and you've got to imagine other team members meeting other people, and those other people, as prospects or leads, then go into this system, they keep building your brand, your team, your opportunities, your leads, your number of 12 appointments a week, And that's the value, because your agents that are joining your team, they don't think like this. They don't understand this. They don't have the time or mental space to do this. So you've got huge value because they get to come in and do what they love to do, which is help people, right? And make an amazing living if you've got good systems set up. Okay? Questions so far? A lot of stuff I threw at you. Okay. Here's the stats. From your sphere of influence, you can count on 10% every year, like clockwork. Meaning if you got 100 people in your database that are sphere, you get 10 deals out of them. Okay? That's repeat or referral. Okay? 10%. If you do a really good job of it, you get 20%. I met one guy gets 50%. That's ridiculous. He's the anomaly. He has 150 people in a sphere and does 75 deals a year. Every year he reevaluates who gets to stay in his sphere. Because he like goes deep. Like he goes to kids' soccer games, like the recitals, like he's in their life, right? But he does 75 deals working with people that he just likes to be with anyway. Okay? The reality is 20% when it's really mature and you spend a lot of time cultivating it and you have the right systems. Most of us don't run it that well, honestly, so it's more like 10%. Okay? That's with hitting them twice a month forever, client appreciation events, quarterly phone calls. Target marketing farming's about 2%. So I mean, if you want 10 deals, take that times 50. You need 500 homes that you're farming to get 10 deals a year. Okay. 1,000 will get you 20. All right? So it depends on how you're going to balance your business. What strategy are you going to do with it? And then costs, I'm not going to really go into on this one. But I want you to think about this. So on your personal stuff, if you want to do, I wanted 80 sales over here that I said, right? If I wanted 80 sales to bring in 600 revenue, and it's at 10%, I just take 80 divided by 10%, or times 10, same math. I would need a sphere of 800 people. Okay? That's it, a sphere of 800 people. If I focus all my energy on 800 people, I'll do 80 deals. Now the reality is that's probably not even just all me. If I've got an administrator, I expect them to bring sphere into the equation too. They know people. If I've got a buyer's agent, I expect them to bring people to the table. Right? So maybe I've got the biggest one because I'm the most active and out there, or maybe mine's 400, but I expect my admin to bring 200 and my buyer's agent to bring 200, I'm at 800. And I'm bringing in 600,000 a year with one assistant and one buyer's agent. See how easy this can be, how simple this can be? I'm rattling a lot of numbers, but I'm challenging you to rethink possibilities. Okay? All right, so what was yours? What would your numbers be? Like if you wanted to do the number of deals you wanted, take it times 10, that's how big of a database of sphere you would need. So write down your number. The number of deals you wrote down that you needed to close per year. Okay, I'm going to go to this sheet, the gap analysis. Okay, so on the left over here, I want you to kind of figure out the goal number. Okay, so we're going to figure out our sphere right now. So if our sphere, if we want to do, how many deals did you write down that you needed to close? Somebody throw out a number. 92 deals. So take that times 10, and so under the goal category over here, right, 920. 92 times 10. Your goal will be 920 in your sphere. Okay? To do 92 deals. Then you're going to write down in the middle column how many do you actually have right now in your database. If you don't really know, go through your phone. If they actually know you, how many people are in your phone address book? You probably aren't really working them as a sphere, right? But how many are currently in it? And then the last number would be the gap. So all you do is you take goal minus current, right? And that's going to tell you what you're short. And that's your gap. Okay, that's your gap. So if over here, if your goal is 920 and you currently have 400, your gap is 520 people. That's the gap, right? This is just how we're breaking it down to business math, okay? So does everybody know what their gap is? Have you done that part? Chuckle.
So it's a big gap.
Big gap. No problem. It's doable. Now you have clarity, right?
Are we talking about the numbers of appointments? Or
Sphere, right? Just number in your database. Number of closings.
Closings.
Yep, number of closings. So if you want to have 92 closings in your example per year, take that times 10, you need a sphere of 920. How many do you have today, and what's the difference? Okay?
You said times 10?
Times 10. Number of closings times 10. tells you how big of a sphere you would need if you're just running a relationship-based business. I'm not even talking about marketing right now, right? If you're doing everything by repeat and referral, how many does your sphere need to be? And then what's your gap? Okay?
Gap is like what, how many contacts you
How
have?
many short are you? Like if your goal is 1,000, yeah. The current would be number of contacts in your database, right? So the first goal number is how many people would need to be in your sphere. The second number is how many currently are in your sphere. The third one is how many are you short in your sphere. Okay? Then all you got to do is ask yourself, what is the gap? How am I going to fill the gap, and by when? It becomes another thing we just focus on, right? Because I'm trying to give you about 4 activities by the end of today that you're going to focus on in 2026. The first one we already did. We're going to focus on number of appointments. Yes? Okay. The next thing we're going to focus on is how am I going to fill my gap? So you just have to decide by when. If you say I'm going to give myself a year to fill the gap, how many people do I need to add every week? Does that make sense? If you're giving yourself 3 years to fill this gap, how many people do you need to add per week? Just figure out how long you're going to do it to get to that gap number, and by when, and then how. How are you going to do it, right? Are you going to do it through open houses? Are you going to do it through door knocking? Are you going to do it through networking? Are you going to do it through hosting seminars? How are you going to meet more people, right? Do you have a hobby group that you can get involved with, right? What is it that you're going to do to meet more people over this given time? So what does it break down to per week?
Okay, so mine was 319 transactions closed.
Okay?
And I currently have 751 people in my phone list.
Okay, so 3190 is the goal number. And then minus 751 gives us the gap. Okay, so 2439. So your gap is 2439. Okay? You need another 2,439 people. So then the question is, how are you going to fill that gap, and by when? With your number of 319 closings, at 319 closings, just to give you an idea, you're going to have a team of at least, I would say at least 10 or 12 agents.
How many appointments would you need?
We're focused on closings right now. Yeah. Closings, not
Not
appointments.
appointments.
Closings. Closings.
Closings.
So this.
But here it says other listing appointments, so is the one on top.
Total number of closings.
Oh, that's just.
So if you want to have 319 closed transactions in a year, and you're doing it by relationship basis, repeat and referral, you need a database of 3,190 people. That's the goal number. Okay, 3,190. Because we're just taking 319 times 10. Then we subtract the 751 you already have in your database, and that tells us have a difference of 2,439 people. So to get to my someday business, I need to add 2,400 people to my database. Okay? So then you say, well, what's my goal to do that? How long am I going to take? If I'm going to take a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I'm going to take all 5 years. It's up to you, okay? But then you're going to divide that by the total number of weeks that you've given yourself to accomplish that. So if it's 5 years, you're dividing it by 250, for example, okay? If it's 3 years, you're dividing it by 150. Whatever it is, how long are you giving yourself to hit that goal? And that will tell you number of people added per week. How many people do you add? So how long are you going to give yourself to add 2,400 people to your database?
Let's say a year.
Okay, so you divide that by 52. And that'll tell you how many people per week, which is 45, 50, okay? So 46 people per week. By the end of the year, then you'd have your full database of this multi-million-dollar business. So then if you're wanting to do it in a year, you would say, okay, how am I going to add 46 people a week? And you create an action plan around that. Does that make sense? what do you love to do right now, or what are you willing to do to meet 46 new people every single week? That'll be the thing you answer. Do you do 5 open houses a week? I don't know. Do you door knock every day? Do you prospect 300 dials a day to have enough conversations?
You going to bars?
If that's your thing, man.
Do you talk in the radio?
If that's your thing, then what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Right? If you have a team, you break it against your team members, which you're going to have a team to do 320 deals, right? So if you've got 10 team members, each of them are only adding 4 people a week. See what I'm saying? Like, you're breaking it down to the more simple stuff. So it's not you necessarily doing all of this. You would probably go a little bit nuts trying to do that many per week by yourself and do your appointments and manage your back end and do all of that. Right? But you do want to figure out how to model the behavior that you're going to expect from your future team. So what are you going to do? What are you going to learn? How are you going to learn how to add new people? So then you can train them when they join your team how to add new people and continue to scale this up and up and up and up. Okay? That's if we're running all repeat and referral. If you're doing it strictly from farming, just take your number of closed deals goal times 50. So if you want to do 3,100 deals, you need to farm 17,000, 18,000 houses. Okay? So that's how you would do it. Now you're not going to go and pick off 18,000 houses tomorrow. You're going to do a certain neighborhood. You're going to do the metrics we talked about. You're going to get a return on that investment. You're going to know you're getting a good multiplier. Then you're going to pick out your second one, and you're going to do the same thing, get it running, get a return, then add number 3, number 4, number 5. We were doing about 8,000 homes is what we did in my Florida team. And that took a 3 or 4 year period to get to that, right? But that was accountable for about 30% of our business was our farm. And we got irritated when other people took listings on our farm, right? Because we ran that farm, we did open houses in that farm, we cold called that farm, we did events in that farm, right? We were always present in those. There were 4 planned developments, covered 8,000 homes. So think about that, right? What are you going to do to take it over if you farm? The reality is most people then have a combination of the two. So your sphere might not have to be 3,190, it might be 1,500, and you might farm 8,000 homes. See what I'm saying? If you kind of divide those, if 50% is repeat and referral and 50% is marketing, I'm starting to get some people to gloss over like this. Lots of math, lots of thoughts, right? But we're going big right now. The same process, same principle, stair steps back. When you leave here, go back to today and say, okay, next year I want to do 30 deals. Right? What would that look like for next year? But the first thing we want to do is we want to start with the big models. That's why we're doing these bigger numbers right now. I need you to understand that these numbers are what allow you to set the foundation for continuing growth and scalability. You may decide to stop halfway there and be happy. That's cool. But if we start, I will tell you this, there's a ton of ways to make 6 figures in this business. There's not a ton of ways to make 7. So, meaning the path gets really narrow. Everybody that's made 7 figures or is making 7 figures, they figured out a lot of the hard lessons, and they've learned a lot of the things they did that got them to 100 don't get them to 1 million. So that's why we talk about 1 million, okay? Because I don't want you to have to reinvent your business in a year or 2 years and like throw it away and start over. So think now, think big, and then we can go back when you're done here and say, well, Jeff, I want to do 25 deals next year. Great, use the same numbers. Use the same concepts. Okay? Is that fair? Everybody with me on that? Okay. No? If you guys need to, go for it, right? We've got about another 45 minutes or so. You need a break? You guys want a break?
After all this math.
Yeah.
Since there's a few people that
Yeah.
have to leave.
Take a break. Yeah.
I'm gonna have.
Oh, yeah.
Here, you get to draw. And your name's in here too, I just wrote it on.
Yo diría que todo Colombia, pero no he ido ahí.
Tú dirías que todo Colombia, todas estaban coquetas. Pero es natural, es muy natural allá. No,
All right, you guys ready?
No es algo que pues estamos haciendo. Ay, no, es muy natural.
So I just want to recap what we just did, okay? Because we kind of wrapped it real quick there at the end. So again, if I had a goal of 100 deals and I was doing it all by relationship, I would take my deal goal of 100 times 10 to figure out how many I needed in my sphere, which would be 100 times 10 is equal to 1,000. Okay? If I was doing it all from farming, no sphere, I would take 100 times 50, because it's about a 2% rate. Okay? That would tell me I need to farm 5,000. If I'm doing a mix of repeat and referral and farming type of marketing, 50-50, I would need a sphere of 500 people and a farm of 2,500. Okay? That's just to give you an idea. Then you go through, well, where am I at on all of these? That's it. If I'm doing sphere, where am I at? If you really want to make sure you're killing it, do 100% and 100%. Because then you'll hit your goal. Like, if you want to know you're going to hit 100 deals, get a sphere of 1,000 and get a farm of 5,000. Worst case, you're going to do 100 deals. Best case, you might do 200 deals. Okay? That's if you got the money to market to 5,000. Right? If you don't, you start out making money with good old time, trading your time. There's only two ways to generate a lead in this business. You trade your time or you trade your money. That's it. When you don't have money, what do? Trade your time. You give your time. And that's fine. That's how I started out, door knocking and cold calling until I had some money, and then I started some farm stuff, right? So, but the other ways, if you have no time, you gotta trade your money. That's it, okay? And hopefully you get to the point where it's marketing-based, prospecting enhanced, like we talked about earlier, okay? So questions, you guys feel comfortable with this? You know it? Okay. And again, in most cases, the numbers you're playing with right now are your someday numbers. So don't get freaked out, because it's not you being responsible for that whole gap. Make sense? Okay, so no questions, we're good. Your budget, more fun with math. Not as much though, I'm gonna skim through some of this, but I do want you to know, make money before you spend it. That's a good thing. Unless you just have so much, and if you do, just give it to me and I'll spend it for you. Right, yeah. And hold it accountable. So there's a girl I used to coach, man, it's been 15 years ago. She came to me, she was making almost $500,000 a year in the revenue, 480 is what she was making. Her net income was only $67,000 a year. That's horrible. That's horrible. So as we went through the conversation, I'm like, you realize you could sell about $3 or $4 million a year, have the same net income, and get rid of all the headaches that you do to generate $500,000 in revenue. I'm like, if you're happy with 67, let's just blow everything up and just do a few million a year, right? And we ended up not working well together because she didn't like that idea.